Hi Virgo, I'm Anna. Before we drop into this, let me acknowledge you. Not with the usual words, just a simple truth. You keep showing up to this space, to your own life, to the messy work of becoming someone who can hold what comes. That matters. That's the architecture no one sees, but everyone feels. So thank you for being here, for being you. Let's go. There's a particular silence that happens when you've said all you can say, when you've laid your cards down, walked away, made peace with the empty table. That silence has been your companion lately, not a lonely silence, a complete one. A silence that doesn't need filling because it's already full of the work you've done to be okay without the answer you once craved. That silence is about to be interrupted, not by noise, by a vibration, a tremor in the quiet that says someone is reaching, not with certainty, with trembling, with the kind of fear that makes a hand hover over the keyboard in retreat, then hover again. This is about a second chance, not the kind you beg for, the kind that arrives when you've stopped begging. When the begging has been replaced by the slow, unglamorous work of building a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's yes, that life is standing now, solid. Not perfect, not finished, but real. And its reality is broadcasting a frequency that someone else is finally, painfully picking up. The person you once wanted to hear from, the one who went quiet when you needed them to speak, the one who chose distance when you chose proximity. They are sitting in a different room now, a room they built with the wrong materials, and the walls are not holding. Let's talk about what fear looks like when it wears the mask of pride. It looks like silence. It looks like a message drafted and deleted. It looks like a phone picked up and put down. It looks like the space between wanting to reach and being terrified of what happens when you do. That's the space this person is inhabiting right now. They are not calm. They are not indifferent. They are pacing. They are rehearsing. They are trying to find a version of the words that won't make them vulnerable, not realizing that vulnerability is the only thing that will make the words land. You know that space. You've lived there. And because you've lived there, you know what it costs to finally, despite the fear, send the message anyway. This person's fear has a specific shape. It's the fear of hearing no. The fear that you've moved on so completely that there's no door left for them to knock on. The fear that the bridge they burned is not just damaged but dismantled. That fear is real to them. It's keeping them up at night. It's making them second guess every instinct to reach out. But beneath the fear, something else is moving, something stronger, a recognition. The recognition that your absence has weight, that the silence you left behind is not empty but full, full of everything they didn't say, didn't do, didn't choose. And that weight is becoming heavier than the fear of rejection. That's the pivot. That's the moment when the message finally gets sent. Now, let's be precise about what we're tracking. This is not about predicting a text at a specific hour. It's about noticing the energetic conditions, the pressure building on their side, the internal collapse of the story they told themselves about why they couldn't reach out, the realization that the cost of not trying is now higher than the cost of trying and failing. Those conditions are present. They are active. They are creating a probability field where contact becomes not just possible, but likely. Not because the universe is forcing it, because the human heart when it has sat long enough with its own regret, eventually does the one thing it's been avoiding. It speaks. The message, when it comes, will not look like the fantasies you might have entertained. It won't be a grand apology or a sweeping declaration. It will be tentative, maybe clumsy. It will carry the fingerprints of someone who has been rehearsing for weeks and still doesn't have the words right. It might start with something neutral, a question, a reference to something you shared, a reason to reach out that feels safe. The real message is not in the content, it's in the reaching, in the fact that they finally, despite every internal barrier, press send, that reaching is the only thing that matters. Everything else is just packaging. Your position in this is different than it would have been a year ago. A year ago, you might have been waiting for this, checking, hoping, letting the silence define your value. That version of you has been retired. In her place is someone who knows their worth, is not determined by who reaches out and who doesn't. Someone who has built a life that doesn't have a waiting room. Someone who can receive a message without their entire equilibrium depending on its content. That's not coldness. That's completion. The chapter that included wanting this person to reach has been written. The ink is dry. You're not waiting for new pages. You're living in a different book entirely. This is the power of the second chance. Not that you get to replay the old scene with better lines, that you get to meet this moment as someone new, someone who can hear what's being said without the old hunger, someone who can respond not from need but from choice, someone who can hold the delicate weight of someone else's vulnerability without collapsing under it or weaponizing it. That's what the work has been for. That's what the silence, the healing, the turning inward was all about. Not to make you immune to connection, to make you capable of a better kind. One where you're not grasping, not performing, not waiting for the other shoe. Just present, just yourself. The fear of rejection they're carrying is not your responsibility to manage. It's theirs. You don't need to make it easier for them. You don't need to soften your boundaries to accommodate their hesitation. The health of this potential reconnection depends on them being willing to risk the no, to send the message without knowing how it will land, to be vulnerable without a guarantee. That's the price of entry. If they're not willing to pay it, the message doesn't come. And if the message doesn't come, that's also an answer. Not about your worth, about their readiness. But let's say it does come. Let's say they press send. Let's say the words arrive in your inbox or your texts or whatever channel they finally choose. What then? You get to decide. Not based on old longing, based on who you are now, on what you need, on whether this person in their current form has a place in the life you've built. The answer might be yes, it might be no, it might be a careful maybe that you get to define. The power is that you get to choose, not from scarcity, from sovereignty, from the grounded place of someone who knows they'll be okay no matter what answer they give. This is what the second chance is actually for. Not to prove you were right all along, not to get the apology you deserved, to show you that you've become someone who can hold complexity, who can receive a tentative hand, reaching out and not mistake it for a rescue, who can let someone be afraid and not take on the job of soothing them, who can say yes or no or not yet from a place of such clarity that the decision doesn't haunt them. That's the real gift. Not the message, the you that exists to receive it. Let's talk about what's shifted in you while you weren't looking. The part that used to equate silence with rejection has quieted. The part that used to scan every text for hidden meaning has found better things to do. The part that used to wonder if you were forgettable has been replaced by the quiet knowing that you are not. That knowing doesn't come from anyone else's attention. It comes from the accumulated evidence of your own life, the relationships you've maintained, the boundaries you've held, the way you've shown up for yourself when no one was there to applaud. That evidence is in your bones now. No message can add to it. No silence can subtract from it. So when this person finally reaches, what will you feel? Maybe curiosity, maybe tenderness for the fear they had to overcome, maybe a flicker of the old warmth that never fully died. But beneath all of that, there will be something new, a rootedness, a sense that this moment, whatever it becomes, is just one moment. Not the climax of your story, not the validation you've been waiting for, just a moment, one that you can meet with presence, with honesty, with the kind of clarity that comes from knowing who you are when no one is watching. That rootedness changes the entire dynamic. You're not waiting at the door anymore. You're in the house, living your life, and the door is just a door. If someone knocks, you'll hear it, you'll decide whether to open, and if you open, you'll do so as someone who doesn't need what's on the other side to feel complete. That's the kind of meeting that can actually build something new, not the old dynamic with new costumes, something real, something that can hold the complexity of two people who have both learned the hard way that love is not about needing, it's about choosing. The message they're afraid to send contains more than words. It contains their own recognition of what they lost, their own acknowledgement that the story they told themselves about why they left no longer holds, their own willingness to risk being seen finally in their imperfection. That's not nothing. That's a kind of courage that deserves acknowledgement, even if the answer you give is no, because you know what it cost them to reach. You know because you've paid that cost yourself. Maybe not in this situation, in others, in the moments you chose to be vulnerable even when it was terrifying. That shared knowledge is the ground on which something real could be built, not on fantasy, on the honest, uncomfortable truth that both of you are flawed, both of you have made mistakes, both of you are here, trying again. But trying again does not mean starting over. The past happened, the silence happened, the choices that led to the separation happened. You don't have to pretend they didn't. You don't have to forgive before you're ready. You don't have to let someone back in because they finally found the courage to knock. You get to decide on your timeline, by your standards. With the full weight of everything you've learned about what you need and what you will no longer accept, this is what the second chance looks like when it's not a fairy tale. It's messy, it's uncertain. It's two people standing at a door that was closed for a reason, trying to figure out if it can be opened again and if it should be. The answer is not predetermined. It's not written in the stars. It's being written now, in the choices you make, in the honesty you bring, in the willingness of both of you to see each other as you actually are, not as you wished each other would be. You might be wondering what you should do while you wait. The answer is nothing. You don't wait. You live. You go to work. You see your people. You tend to the garden of your own life. You let the anticipation be a background hum, not the main event. Because if you stop living while you wait for this message, you've already given away the power that the second chance was supposed to restore. the power of your own life, your own rhythm, your own choosing. When the message comes, if it comes, you'll be ready, not because you prepared, because you never stopped being yourself. Because you kept your feet on the ground and your heart in your chest. Because you remembered that your worth was never hanging on someone else's decision to reach or not reach. That memory is your anchor. It will hold you steady when the message arrives. It will help you read the words without reading into them. It will let you respond from truth, not from the old hunger. That's the victory. Not the message, the you that exists to receive it. And if it doesn't come, if the fear wins, that's also an answer. That's also data. That's also a door that stays closed because the person on the other side wasn't ready to do the work of opening it. That outcome does not diminish you. It doesn't mean you weren't worth the risk. It means they weren't ready to take it. Those are different things. You know the difference now. You didn't before, but you've learned that someone else's inability to show up is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their capacity, and their capacity is theirs to manage, not yours to fix, not yours to wait for. So here you are, at the edge of something, not knowing if it will come, not needing to know, just standing in your own life, solid, present, whole. That's enough. That's more than enough. That's the place you fought for, healed for, grew for. That's the place where second chances don't define you. You define them. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.